Moonbeam here, and this is a tutorial on how to make combat in your writing. It's pretty simple, actually. It's just kind of you're basically saying what happens, like what is happening in the fight, but you're adding creative ways of saying it, which make it look nicer and more interesting to read. So, for instance, instead of let's say you have like a scene where there's uh, sword fighting. Let's say you have a scene in sword fighting. Instead of just saying this person block this person, you could say there. You could say, for instance, give it a little bit of imagery, like there's the metal screamed. The one way you say is metal screamed against each other, or there's screams of metal, or you can have things like if someone's swinging a sword, you can say uh, they like the arc of their sword, they or like a swung their sword in an arc, or they thrust their sword into the opponent's shield, splintering the wood, or if they didn't, or it just basically you kind of have to make in order to make combat sound more interesting. You have to like be a little more colorful in what you do, and kind of get some adjectives and like other ways of saying things like synonyms, like get a thesaurus or something like that. You don't have to, but the other ways is if you basically there's ways of saying things that make it more interesting. So yeah, or let's say you have a gunfire, someone's shooting. You could say it more. We could say it a little more colorfully, or basically it aids in imagery. So you could do something like uh, the bullets flew through the sky, embedding themselves into let's say a plate of metal, or because I don't know if bullets can go in metal, but just you basically have to like create good imagery with it. It's not you just don't just write what happens. Write what happens in a way that get a little creative with what it says. I don't do it too much because again it seems like obvious you're trying to do something, or it just seems not that interesting. But another example, a little bit of suspense and expectancy. Uh, you could say if someone's setting a bomb off. You could say that the wick burned off into the distance. It's fizzing, or you could say it's fizzing, fading off in the distance. The wick burned, it's fizzing, fading off in the distance. Then you say all was silent. All was silent. Then the sky exploded into flames. It's a way to say someone lit an explosive from farther away. Or you could say another thing you could do is let's say if you want to make another rule is that if when combat oftentimes is faster paced. So what's going on? You don't have to. You kind of have to do it. You don't have to do every little detail unless the details are important. You don't do every little detail unless it's important. But so it's faster paced. So you don't exactly have to say like the lance. Like if someone has a lance, you don't have to say that unless you want to do it on purpose or to make it more interesting for the reader. If it's just a basic fight scene, unless there's meaning behind making it longer. Like meaning would be like if let's say it's before the fight, or it's like the slow everything down into like a important moment or something like that. Uh, but like when you do fighting for combat, you kind of it's kind of going to be on the pace based on what the character is experiencing. If the character is experiencing if just everything's going by fast, it's gonna kind of the way you write would make it feel a little more faster, a little bit less detail. Uh, but you can still make that. You still can add a little bit of things to make it more interesting. Or suspenseful, or something so not suspenseful, but you don't know what's gonna happen next. You would have a little bit of pausing and writing things in between to make kind of a pause, but it's supposed to be interesting. Uh, when you but when you try and if you try to do it too much, it'll kind of ruin the reading. So you have to make sure you get the right amount, and you kind of can experiment what feels right for the amount of you can add colorful imagery, like adjectives, synonyms for things to make it more interesting. Also, when it depends what the character is experiencing at the moment for what is how fat the pace is. Like if you want to have slow mo scene, then yeah, the pace would be slower. But you want to have it kind of fast, and if you're having another thing, if you're having characters talk, they're kind of gonna have less words when they're talking in a fight scene if it's fast paced. Also, if they pause, the fight pauses for a second, yeah, they can talk a little more normally. But uh, also, sometimes you want to use the word suddenly. This happened if it's a sudden attack. You can have it seem like it slows down. You can have the battle slow down if it says it happening. Like the pace can slow down, then suddenly snap it back really fast. It can add a kind of effect. Or if you want a gradual thing, change the pace like slowly. Like first it's slow, then it gets faster. The way you write is faster. It kind of creates an urgency, a sense of urgency for the reader. There's different factors for this, but it's combat is kind of simple, but for the most part, it's just a few tricks you can do with it. You're basically just saying what's happening, just kind of making it a little more colorful and making it more like more changing pace and like what details are pointing out depending on like what's important in the scene. Like whatever details you have, they're important. What you're writing. Okay, so this is my advice on this. If this helped you, please let me know. And if you want to see different tutorials, like please let me know like any other tutorials you'd like me to make. So, peace out.